think he fit in really well. First of all, I think probably he'd say that's some bullshit, maybe at first. But I think the reach, it reminds me of like anything that's old school versus new school. He didn't realize, once somebody samples his song, what that meant. He was like, all he knew was like somebody stealing my stuff, until he saw the check and see, So TikTok, the reach that you can get, I think he would definitely warm up to that. He would be, with his fashion sensibilities and whatnot, he would be really funny. I think he'd enjoy it. I mean, its impact on the world is endless. Starting with me, I'm definitely influenced by his work. My band with Mint, all of that stuff, the whole rock and roll, funk, fusion of all these genres coming together was a big influence. So I mean, and then also with the fashion sensibility coming up in the 70s, 80s, that kind of thing, it was just really explosive with imagery of like videos, like stage productions, pyrotechnics. He had all these things working for him. And so it made a big impact. And I think, generations to come, we're still discovering that. So, he was right in there. He had every area, he kicked in every area, whether visually, songwriting, production. He was the guy who's, at the time, I believe he was saved Motown. So, I mean, he was so many things, all at one time. So I think it was really a powerhouse. So the impact is going to be heard and seen for years to come. Yeah. I think it's all theater. Stage is theater. I had some experience very early on in theater, so I knew a lot of the basic, training and how to work and how to work the stage and that kind of thing. The science of the stage, with Mint and my own solo stuff, you're just diving into it more. The more that you do it, getting those reps in, figuring out what works and what doesn't. Theater, and musical theater particularly, there's so many arms. There's a lot of different things moving. So I think one of the things that was a little I didn't see coming as much was just really delivering the dialogue, speaking to the back of the room consistently like that. Singing is something that I do, it's like, yes, it's my thing, so. But integrating all these parts of, being on your mark and that kind of thing, where to deliver the line, how to play that tennis match with your counterpart. All these things were really, you just getting those reps in and trying to practice doing them, exercising that muscle. So coming from, the music world into the theater world, a little bit of an adjustment, but really it's just trying to figure out where you're connecting those dots. So a lot of them were similar, but some things were a little bit more challenging. You just put the work in at that point. His relationship with his mother is really, she's the only one, that's his rock. You know what I mean? He's got all this stuff going on. And with his band too, he's a sensitive dude. He guards the things that are really important to him very seriously, so much to the point that, someone else would call him an asshole for it. This is the stuff that he guards, and he protects that. And his mother is the one person he can pretty much say anything and be himself. He's embarrassed at certain things, you know what I mean? Whereas to the rest of the world, he's not. He just says what it is. But his mother, he just kind of, he's like a little kid again. So I love those moments, and it's very, for me, it gets really emotional to think about. I'm like, man, I can feel that. I feel his spirit, and that's where I was trying to go to really get those ticks. And just be on the edge with that. So that relationship really, really got to me, yeah. All I can say is it feels like from the word go, there's a cord, we plug that cord into the wall, and electricity, the lights go on, and it's on from that time. And what happens is the volume turns up, the intensity turns up, and the crowd is active from front to back. They're shocked. There's these highs and lows. It's a great emotional roller coaster ride. And it's just, wow, there's so many things that they didn't know. You hear the music coming, and everybody's got this nostalgic moment. Then you hit them with some dialogue. Things they didn't know. It's like, wow, I didn't know they worked with them. Oh, that's how they got there. All these connections, from front to back, the choreography, the staging, the set design, the writing of the material, everything just from every angle. It's just very well done. So I'm really proud to be a part of this whole operation. And it's just, I can't wait for this crowd to see it. So, like I said, it's very electrifying. We plug in this cord to the wall, and from the start, it's just electrifying. It's basically, yes, it's theater, but it's a concert. People are very active, dancing in the aisles, singing the songs, and it really feels like a concert. At that point, I'm actually speaking to them. Sometimes the crowd wants permission, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I'm talking to you. Raise your hand, raise your funk signs up in the air. It's a concert at that point. So we weave in and out just beautifully, and it's like, wow. We just give them that license to just be free, and it's okay. We're not just up here to be looked at. You're actually, this is part of the whole performance. Part of the whole operation, the whole experience.
He'd be going viral every other day. I mean, Rick was crazy in a good way, off the chain. So I think he'd be doing very well. I think Rick would find TikTok to be an exciting way to introduce new music, since things are broken this way, and it'll just be another revolutionary way for him to put out his messaging, his style, and he'd probably just keep evolving with the culture and just having a fantastic time. When I first spoke to Ty about doing this story, I kind of spoke first, meaning I said, oh, this would be great to do the Rick James story. And then I thought about it after the fact, and I was like, this is pretty complicated to tell, because I didn't know much about him, right? What I knew was what the general public knew. And it was, these varying negative understandings of outbursts that he may have had, or things that he'd done, just the things that, the mistakes that we've made in life, and his were highlighted, unfortunately. But as I began to read and research, and I think it was an interview that I watched on him, I don't know if it was Arsenio Hall or Keenan Ivory Wayans, where he was talking about being in jail, and the audience, he was talking about all the wild, crazy things that he did in his life, and the audience was applauding, and he said, no, don't applaud for that. These are mistakes that I made that I needed to learn from, and I needed to have my life to be this way so that I could come out clean on the other side. And that was the hook into the story, that this is a man who, the human element of him, he just loved his craft. He loved music. He loved his family. And he had to create an alter ego in order to succeed. And that alter ego was Rick James. But James Ambrose Johnson, the kid, the 16-year-old with a dream, anyone could relate to that. And it seemed that no one knew about that. No one knew about the kid who was in various bands, the kid who was an influence on Crosby, Stills, and Nash, the kid who was dealing with rock and folk and all types of music before ever finding kind of this funk and soul. And so to me, that void and that absence of that, I was like, that's it. Like the Rick you don't know. And then there's the Rick that we know to become. And if we pull those two arcs together, we'll understand that this was a super freak of nature, like talented human being that was a musician, meaning played multiple instruments, and had a vocal range that was just out of this world. And when you look at that and say, here's a man that can go from style to style to style to genre after genre and still excite people all the way across the board, that's our art. Let's tell that story of a genius, of a brilliant human being, of a music maestro, but he's also running from his own demons, right? And must have to face his own demons. But did he fight? Did he prevail in most of those fights? And he did. He overcame these obstacles. So to me, the arc is about this talented human being who has a dream, who goes on a journey to become one of the greatest funk, rock, and soul human beings on the planet. And in order to get to that, he must go through folk. He must go through all these different genres in order to achieve a sound that was so unique that not only does he transform culture and community, but ultimately he revitalizes Motown, which was dying at the time. And so the dude to me is a hero for a genre of this music. And I think that people are going to come to this show and learn so much that they did not know about this man that they're going to walk away loving him, having compassion for him, but most of all, acknowledging the contribution that he made. And I believe that anyone who sees this will never deny who Rick James was, is, and how he contributed. I think there's a level of funk in Super Freak that we have yet to see in a musical. We've seen some great musicals, but the rawness, the realness, the balance between truth, authenticity, flaws, fear. I mean, he was afraid a lot of the times. To the journey of him standing up to systems, MTV. He was fighting to get videos on MTV. He was the pioneer behind that. Ultimately, there is a Michael Jackson and a Prince as a result of Rick James' fight to say, hey, we deserve the same access. We deserve the same opportunity. So I think our audiences are extremely interactive when they see it because they can't help themselves. It's like being in a rock concert and sitting down. You can't sit down in a rock concert. This is Rick James. So the type of excitement and the zingers, right? I leave no stone unturned. I'm gonna pierce your soul with certain dialogue and lines that's gonna make you viscerally have to respond. And so I think sometimes when some of the Broadway shows can be a little safer, and we had a little more leeway because of the type of character that Rick James is. He's a larger than life personality. So I would say he's closer to like Liberace and all these other like big personalities of what you see on stage. So when you come on a fashionista, a rock concert, a Broadway show, all wrapped up in one, that's what you're gonna get in Super Freak. And he's gonna bring out the super freaky demons in all of us. That's just the way it is. It's a good time. It is a good time. As we go down memory lane and these nostalgic moments are popping up, I am witnessing people who went to Rick James concerts and just saying this was just phenomenal and amazing. I felt like he was up there and we were back in this, teleported back into this place where I'm seeing Rick on stage. And I think that's the beauty of it all, like the excitement, the electricity. It's electrifying. And you're going to want to sing the songs. You're going to want to dance. And most of all, you're going to, by the end of this show, say, my God, this man was amazing. The public was just like me in the beginning, right? We knew about the Dave Chappelle skit. We knew about maybe an outburst at the BET Awards, and that's what we had relegated Rick James to be. And my research and diving deeper into understanding him, this is the man that had the magic, right? And though I address those couple of flaws or couple of things that happened in his life, it does not outweigh and outshine the beauty, the obstacles, and the love that he shared and the funk that he gave the whole world. So to me, people are going to walk away from this saying he was magical, he was amazing, extremely smart as a businessman. He's the only person that walked away with his catalog from Motown. Think about that. Like, there's not another artist that walked away with a catalog from Motown except Rick James, who was very clear in his intent and in his business dealings. So you're talking about a very intelligent, super creative human being. And everybody's getting ready to have a funky good time because, look, we're about to give it to you, baby. In this show, we are about to give it to you. So come get ready to have some fun, have the time of your life. Super Freak, Rick James story, right here at the Pantages, now through Saturday. If you miss it, you're going to be hearing everybody talk about the place and the play and the musical that you wish you had seen.
I feel like if my dad was on TikTok today, he is so outrageous and loud and flamboyant with his style that it would definitely stand out. Like, compared to what you see, and TikTok is so user friendly and a lot of people are like really using that as a platform. So I know he would enjoy it and he would probably take full advantage. This has been such an amazing experience, just being able to recap his life in such a way. Caryous has done an amazing job, from the writing perspective. The cast, the crew, everybody has just given their full attention. You can see the passion, you can feel it moving. I am just honored and beyond elated to be able to, show his life in a way that's so visual and captured from start to finish. You get a really good idea of who this man really is. Well, I haven't seen that many. I did have the privilege to see Set It Off, which, Caryous did. And that was amazing. My dad's life overall is just something for the big screen, for the theatrical stage, for the motion picture. He gave so much to our culture, devoted his life, and you really can tell by the ups and downs that he was very, very passionate about his gift, about his dream, and the way he followed it. People, I feel, can relate to, rejection. There's no's, there's closed doors, and you have to really push past all those things. So I think it's a really good description of never giving up and to always follow your dreams. Okay, let's start with the first part. It is my pleasure, it's my honor to, honor my dad's legacy in a way that we're doing it. I'm the first and only daughter, so huge responsibility. His gift and, talent that he left with us is something that needs to be remembered and something that needs to be shared in a positive light. And that's how we feel like we're bringing it to everybody. The audience is ranting and raving about Stokley, and what can I say? I am ranting and raving about Stokley. He's just dynamic on stage. He really brings out the emotion in me. Family, friends, we're just all taken aback by his ability to capture my dad in the manner that he does. So it brings me great joy. I'm really trying not to get emotional now, just thinking about it. But we're very, very happy and proud and pleased that he is bringing it to the people the way that he is. He's bringing the funk, really bringing it. Oh, wow, this is a fun question because Caryous and I went back and forth on multiple occasions about, how this was going to appear. And that was more of my concern because, I'm emotional when it comes to this thing. Like, I want to protect, my dad. And of course, he had flaws. So I'm like, Ty, balance this out and really understand what we're trying to give to the people. We want it to be real. We want it to be authentic and raw, just like he is and was. So with that being said, I had to kind of, bite the bullet and just really deal with some hard parts. There are definitely some hard parts in this production that just give the real and who he is. We didn't want to sweep that under the rug. We wanted to give it to the people the same way that he would want it to be, done. And the light that's shed on it could totally be a learning lesson for people. And that's kind of something that, I am proud about. If we can show you something that would prevent you from, making mistakes of this sort, that's what he gave his life for. And I stand by that. I'm proud of that. Oh my God. Just the thought of, who I am sometimes is overwhelming because to walk in the footsteps that he has created universally, worldwide for the world, the iconic impression that is the man, Rick James. I'm elated with happiness. I'm very proud. He changed the world in many ways, very political and just really fought for the things that he believed in. And I hope that he has been an inspiration to people. I know his fans and peers really, really appreciate that and acknowledge, the stamp that he has left.